are ready to start. Thank you to this very first special meeting, which is going to be a kind of a semi-regular special meeting of the Personnel Audits and Hiring Committee. I'm Tim McCosker. I'm joined by my colleague, Councilmember Hugo Soto Martinez. Our Vice Chair is excused today. She will not be here. Councilmember Marquise Dawson may join us as a guest for these meetings. So what are these meetings? This is the outcropping of a motion introduced a little bit ago looking to go department by department and look at vacancies and talk about how, and for each department it's going to be a little bit different, how vacancies, what's the number of vacancies, and what's the plan for filling them, or if not to be filled, what's the plan for covering the work, essentially. It's a simple way of saying it. And one of the things that our colleague Marquise Harris-Dawson has done so expertly over the last several years is monitored the TLH program and the Bridges program and other equity programs to bring people into city service. And I know that there's going to be we're going to fold a lot of these discussions are going to refer to, or we're going to fold a lot of that into these discussions. So that's why, you know, my colleague will be here from time to time. What I'm intending to do, and we've begun to do it today, is that as we have these special meetings, we'll group together like-situated departments. And these like-situated departments are essentially proprietary departments and/or departments that have sources of funds. And you will see that there's a sort of a through line between grouping them this way and also when we look at the priority hiring plan, there is a reason why these folks are grouped together in the priority hiring plan for the same sort of reason. You have funds and you have the ability to hire without directly or even indirectly affecting the general fund. So that is that's essentially where we're going, but we're going to feel our way through this as well today, and I appreciate you all being here for an early morning meeting. I think we'll do these before council on Wednesdays semi-regularly, but not so regularly that it becomes a standing committee or a standing meeting. It'll be a special meeting. It being a special meeting, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Very good. Councilmember McCosker.
Here.
Councilmember Padilla. Councilmember Soto Martinez.
Here.
Very good. Two present.
So this is the point of the special meeting where we would take in public comment. No one has signed up for public comment. Just as a reminder that in a special meeting, folks can speak on agenda items, but not on general public comment. So I'll give one last call. Anyone who wants to speak on agenda items? Hearing none, we'll close the public comment. So we're ready to start. So for the run of show, essentially I want to go department by department. I think we're going to begin with the Port of LA, and you're here, correct?
Your favorite.
Stephanie, thank you. First up is the Port of Los Angeles. I got a report for you. I'm going to ask you to give me just a brief overview of the material that you submitted, and then we'll probably have some questions and follow-up. So you are the first, Stephanie, congratulations. You're the first department in the first meeting of this special process that we're going to go through, and not surprisingly, we'll probably do this from now through the up to the budget, because some of this will help me inform me on my role in the budget committee. So Stephanie, what do you got?
I'm honored to be here today. Thank you. Harbor Department has currently authorized for about 1,000 employees. Currently, the department has roughly 140 vacancies, which is a representative rate of about 14%. Those vacancies are across a variety of different positions: admin, trades, sworn, technical positions. 90 of those 140 positions are in various stages of being filled. The balance.
I'm sorry, say that again.
So of the 140 vacancies that we currently have,
yeah.
90 of those are in some process of being filled. So either we've sorted the list or we're doing interviews, made offers.
Yep.
But 90 of those vacancies are in a stage of being filled. Some of those vacancies are in positions that are more difficult to fill.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the reasons for that is they're Harbor Department specific vacancies.
Yep.
Where we've either had no applications or we're awaiting a test to be released so that we can start the process to fill those positions. So that is essentially the crux of my report, and happy to take any questions.
Thanks. Everyone's going to get a chance to answer this question in some specificity or some degree. Target local hire or bridges or other equity programs, I'll call them, when we give folks within geographic limits or within
Yeah,
social categories?
most, if not all, of our entry-level construction and maintenance positions are filled with either bridge to jobs or targeted local hire. So since 2017, we have made 46 selections from one or two of those programs.
Okay. One of the things that, do you do job fairs? How does the department participate in opportunities to do TLH or bridges or other similar programs?
Yeah, so we frequently either will go out for a citywide job fair and participate in that way, or when invited, we'll participate in outside agencies' job fairs.
Yeah. Do you have a sense of whether those 90 positions that you're currently, I'm going to keep saying you, I get it, that it's the department, that you're currently filling, whether they're coming from other city service or are they coming from the outside?
They're primarily from the outside.
So they're more entry-level positions?
Yeah. Both the targeted local hire and bridge to jobs are primarily entry-level positions. Only because I know your department so well and live in such proximity to the activities of your department, one of the issues that I think is going to come up and has come up in community groups, but probably going to come up on the council floor in discussions with the department are the maintenance and gardening classifications for the properties that the port is beautifully developing, creating all of this space for the things like the promenade and the Wilmington Park. But as you grow those spaces, are we growing the maintenance, janitorial, gardening functions? Yeah, so we're in process of developing the 25 fiscal year budget currently. Management is developing a plan to augment positions and services within construction and maintenance for that purpose.
Yeah.
Board has to approve it, but that's the direction we're going.
And that's a prime area for TLH.
Oh yes, yeah.
Okay. Colleague, any questions?
No questions. I was going to ask about TLH and bridge too, so
Yeah.
it's good. Thanks.
It's great. I mean, I will say, I think you know this, but just for the record, my first job with the City of Los Angeles was as a student professional worker in construction and maintenance, Port of Los Angeles, 1980.
Awesome.
Yeah. In one more year, I'd be able to get one of those Sapphire Awards that Avak just got.
That was before I was born. So thank you for mentioning that.
Okay. Anything to add?
No, thank you very much.
Okay, so you we will follow up with the department, but would like to see how you are doing on those 90 positions, and I'm particularly interested on where folks are coming from, whether they're coming from the outside or coming from other city service.
Yeah,
That's going to be an important issue for us.
I don't have it at the top of my head, but I do have the zip codes of the folks that we have hired through the bridge to jobs and the targeted local hire, and I can share that with your office.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll follow up with you as we get through the rounds of these, because this cohort will come back to us, I know, before the budget, and that will be an important issue. And then I'll also be interested in seeing how the department is responding, at least in their budget proposals, to taking on the extra work and making sure we fill those positions.
Okay.
Thanks.
Great.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I'm going to recommend that we receive and file this report. Should we do one vote at the end, Mr. Clerk, to receive and file all the reports, or should we take them one by one? Note and file. I know, I keep saying receive and file. I know that has meaning for you.
All right, very good. Put that up for a vote then. Councilmember McOsker
Yes.
and Councilmember Soto Martinez.
Yes.
Okay, very good. That report is note and file.
Thank you very much. Next up, water and power.
I didn't realize it was-
And we did get a report from you. If you give us a couple of minutes on your report. Good morning. Thanks for being here.
Good morning. Good morning, council members. I'm Michael D'Andrea, Director of HR at DWP. Happy to be here and provide you with any information you need. I did present some slides.
Great.
Because DWP is so different, I'm not sure it's what you really want to hear today. So
No, it's okay. I think we will see what you have, and then we'll see what we need, and we're going to refine this thing as we go.
that'd be great. And if you find that it's really not what is useful to you, just start
Sure.
the music and stop
We'll
me.
look at these slides. So why don't you go right ahead?
Okay, great. Okay, so as I was just implying, as you all know, things are very different at DWP. As a proprietary utility for the City of LA under the Charter, our source of funding, of course, is quite different, and our position management is as well. And so many of the issues that you are addressing here in these meetings, I think, will apply to us very differently, or perhaps not at all. For that reason, I think the points I'll make are unique. You asked about vacancy rate.
Yep.
Vacancy rate at DWP is, you would think that's an easy question to answer. It's a bit tricky. What I provided for you here is our vacancy rate based on what we call the approved head count. Simply put, it's our funded staffing level. That's a little bit different from our annual personnel resolution, which is the total number of positions that our board approves. However, it's important to note that if I were to use that for your purposes here today, I think it would be extremely misleading.
Yeah.
That would not be an indication of the positions that we are actively trying to fill. What we do is, because we think it's the most responsible thing, is we fund a more realistic number of positions, which is what you're looking at. And so if you look at the approved headcount or our funded staffing level for fiscal year 23-24, it's 11,848. Our occupancy as of January 2024 was 11,334. And according to my math, which is always a bit questionable, it's about a 6% vacancy rate, probably a little bit less than that. So again, a vacancy rate that I think a lot of city departments would like to have, but I think that's simply because of the position we're in.
You may have it in the next slide, but can I stop you there?
Of course.
Just so I understand.
Yes, sir.
So what you do is not what the city side, the generally funded city side does. You being LADWP, you have a staffing level that you fund for a full year. And so on your resolution, or I mean on your position authorities, so you basically have that core group, and then you have an as-needed
That's correct.
set of positions. Are those though subject to like annual adoption? Are they like resolution authorities on this side of the street?
It's a little different. The number, which is about 2,000 more than the number you see there, is approved by our board, but it's set as a goal. We don't fund it because we know from experience about how many positions we net each year, and it's, to be perfectly frank, about 300 to 400. Now that's so your
6% vacancy rate is based on the 11,000 core group, and then you have about 13,000 change
You have it
So-
exactly right. That's
Okay.
right. Yes,
Got it.
sir. Yeah. So again, that's the most realistic vacancy rate that we have. DWP is, but we have different challenges. Our challenge is hiring more quickly, more efficiently, more nimbly, in greater numbers with greater frequency to meet our operations, and that's what we spend most of our time trying to do. So we're currently filling positions in all classifications, in all systems across the department, trying to do so more quickly. Some of the issues that we have are internal. We need to make operational changes, which we're working on, which will allow us to hire more quickly. Sometimes you might say, well, there's more people on the list. Why don't you just search for twice as many? Well, if we don't have crews that are established with the appropriate personnel on each crew, we can't utilize that many new trainees. And you have to remember, DWP has lots and lots of temporary training classes. It's really the way we operate in our field operations. So we bring people in Section 530 training classes. They go through a training period that can last anywhere from 18 months up to 4 years for our line series. And so that's how we tend to hire. We bring them in, we train them according to our operations, and that takes time.
Okay. Keep going.
So what are we doing to try to improve in that regard? So, for example, I'm sure you've heard of LA 100. DWP is required to be fossil fuel power supply free by 2035 in order to meet that transformation. And this will be a complete transformation of the way we produce electricity. The power system anticipates that they're going to need approximately 4,000 net new hires. That's not just promotions or internal transfers. That's net new hires over the next decade. So that's about 400 net new hires per year. Right now, they're probably netting about 250. So how do we increase our capacity to hire more frequently and more quickly? We have a couple of ways that we're doing that, and I like to refer to it as the front end and the back end. The front end is what you're looking at here. We have a new memorandum of agreement with the personnel department. The reality is the personnel department is not able to meet DWP's ever-growing demands. They just aren't. And so we have had a memorandum of agreement to fund examining and classification staff at the personnel department. For a few years, it's small. It currently funds 7 staff. That's 4 in examining and 3 in classification. That's to create new classes, revise requirements, allocations, and so forth. And the turnaround is lengthy. That's just the reality of what we have right now.
I'll stop you there again.
Yes, sir.
So this is a memorandum of agreement with city personnel.
Correct.
And this is DWP says, hey, city personnel will fund, right, currently it's 7 positions. You propose 25 positions inside the personnel department to focus on hiring for DWP exclusively.
You have it exactly correct. It's examining and classification. So to create new civil service lists, but also help us with creating new classifications, allocating positions, and everything else that the classification division does.
Right.
Yep.
Got it.
So this is, and the really important thing is it's going to have a service level guarantee. So we'd be going from 12 to 14 months to 4.5 to 5.5 months, which is a 65% reduction. That is huge when we talk about the needs of our operating field crews and how quickly they can plan for new operations in power supply, transmission, and distribution to meet the needs of LA 100. So this is going to be really a great, significant improvement for us.
Okay.
That's going to our board in April.
Okay. Is that it for your slides?
That's the front end real quickly.
Yep.
Back end. So once we have eligible lists, what can we do at DWP to use them more efficiently? And we've started a process we refer to as accelerated hiring or Saturday hires. Simply put, we get operating division admin staff to work with my staff in HR. They work together. They do large consolidated mass hires, typically on a Saturday. We get the administrative teams working together, and they have a conditional job offer ready by 5 p.m. on that Saturday, as opposed to the prior process, which would take an additional 2 to 3 weeks. So we're saving an additional 3 to 5 weeks on the back end as well.
So this is one of my colleague Soto Martinez's favorite questions. I'm going to ask you your question. So you have events where folks can show up on a Saturday, and you can have a conditional job offer by the end of the day?
Yes, but remember, these events are when we already have a civil service list. So we're utilizing the civil service list that's already established.
Okay, so this isn't like a TLH. This is a through the front door using all of the civil service.
This is a little bit different, right? As I think you know, Councilman, with respect to TLH, DWP has its own programs which are very similar but necessarily different. So we have the Utility Pre-Craft Trainee Program, which has been in existence for about a decade, and we have the brand new Utility Worker, which is very much like TLH.
I don't want to keep taking you off your slides.
I'm done with the slides.
So tell us about your TLH-like program.
So the UPCT program was designed to help us bring folks in for skilled craft field operations. It's been a great program. We've probably moved about 150 people into civil service. The utility worker was established last year, and it's very much like the city's vocational worker program, except that it has some methodological differences. We hire through the union hall at IBEW. However, like TLH, we do use a number of city work source centers. We promote the program throughout the city, and they come in, they're hired through signing the books at IBEW. They go to the work source centers. We then bring them to DWP in a variety of classifications. They're actually the same 5 classifications that the vocational worker program uses, plus admin clerk and delivery driver for office training.
So if they come in through the IBEW hall, IBEW has understandably, because of the nature of their work, has a very long and well-trained system of journey person, apprentice. Where are they in the process when you hire them out of the hall?
Where are they dispatched?
Where are they? What are they? Are they journey persons? Are they apprentices? Are they pre-apprentice?
No, these would be folks coming in from the community who are looking for entry-level work in any of the 5 classes. So we bring them in, and then they go through a rotation.
So essentially, their journey to walking in the door to becoming an apprentice happens at DWP.
That's correct.
That's
They're trained. They go through a lengthy training period.
That's great.
Yeah. So again, it's the UPCT, Utility Pre-Craft Trainee, which is focused on skilled craft, and then we have the newer Utility Worker, very much like the city's Voc Worker program, which is the 5 classifications: warehouse and tool room worker, custodian, gardener caretaker, garage attendant. I'm missing one, but there are 5 of them.
Yeah. Going back to the earlier slides, though, so the way budgets are set up at LADWP, essentially you're funding your over 90% filled rate, or that first cohort where you only have a 6% vacancy rate. So there's no such thing. There's no tool at DWP for salary savings at the end of the year.
Well, I suppose the way we use the approved headcount is sort of our salary savings, because what we do is we fund what is realistic, what we know we can hire with a goal, which we're going to try to hire through these initiatives that I've described today. And as you can see, with a 6% vacancy factor, we come fairly close. For next year's budget, those numbers are going to be increased by about 800. So even the approved headcount, what we fund, is going to be increased.
So the as-needed positions, are they subject to an annual adoption, or do they stay on the books from year to year without action by the board in the budget?
They're approved annually in our budget as what we call our annual personnel resolution, our APR. Those positions, I'm referring to them as needed, but they're positions that are available for us to fill. Some divisions at DWP, especially the very small ones, actually do fill all the way up to their APR. That's very unusual. But those positions are there. We do it that way because it's a goal. We want to encourage the divisions to do everything I've been talking about here to fill as many as they can so that we can meet these operational needs.
Yeah. So they're very much like resolution positions on this side of the street, I think. I mean, I'm kind of looking back at personnel. Are they like, you know what, I'll wait. I'll ask offline. But it seems like a resolution authority. And it seems like a good way of budgeting. And it might be a function of sort of the constitutional and regulatory constraints on what you can do with ratepayers' money.
Well, I think we view it that way. I think we think it's realistic and we think it's reasonable. I don't think it would be realistic or responsible to fund the full APR when we know very well, even with our wildest improvements, we're not going to fill all of those positions. So that just doesn't seem appropriate.
Careful before you besmirch the way we do it on this side of the street. Any questions, colleague?
Yeah, I have a couple actually. So this relationship with IBEW, how much training do they get before they arrive at DWP?
It's a 3-day training program at the various work source centers that includes typical job readiness. How do you show up on time? How do you listen to instructions? This sort of thing. But it also includes some interview techniques, and there are some things that they need to pass and succeed in to complete the 3-day training. So it's some basic training. There is also 1 day where they receive specific information about DWP.
Right. And this is also done at the Union Hall?
No, it's done at the work source centers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is there any training that happens at the Union Halls before they come to you?
No.
So they're basically a recruitment arm, essentially.
That's fair. I think so.
Okay, that's fine. I'm sort of trying to understand the relationship.
Yes.
Have you found that to be equally successful, more successful, less successful than the work source centers?
Well, they work in tandem with the work source centers. So they're sort of dispatched. They sign up through the Union Hall. Then when DWP says, hey, we need 30 utility workers for this month, they send more than 30. They don't all actually make it through the work source center to go through that training, and then that's who is ultimately dispatched to DWP. Mm-hmm. The system works really well.
I mean, based on your vacancy rate, yeah, it sounds like it is. So well, I'm just asking this because we're trying to figure out how to get our jobs filled, and I think we're missing an opportunity to work with many of the different unions across the city that already have sort of built-in infrastructure and could be a direct pipeline into city jobs.
Yeah, we fashioned the utility worker program last year, maybe a year and a half ago, on the UPCT program because that collaboration works so well. Yeah. And IBEW was absolutely instrumental in creating UPCT about a decade ago. Great. Yeah, it's a great program.
Yeah, sounds like it. Thank you so much. I might follow up with you or maybe even the union about it, but it sounds like a great program.
Call me anytime.
Yeah, thank you.
Good. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. We'll follow up. I know we'll be back before the budget year before the budget begins in earnest. It's already begun, of course.
Sure.
But I'll also have the same request of you offline for you to present sort of where are your, in addition to working through the union halls and the work source centers, where are your employees coming from? And I want to focus with no normative judgment on where you see lateral transfers from the general fund side to the DWP side.
Sure, be happy to provide that with you for you anytime you want. DWP does take transfers, of course.
Sure.
Not until after we've exhausted our required bids with our IBEW MOUs.
No, I understand.
But we still do quite a few of them. Yeah.
Sure, and I just want to be able to track it and think about it because it has implications on city services.
Sure.
On both sides of the street. And then I think, too, we'll want to track where we are on the proposal to fund positions inside personnel that are DWP funded, that, you know, that proposal that you have from the, to go up to the 25 or 26, whatever you said.
Right. The MOA was signed by both general managers, and we hope that's going to our board on March 12th.
Okay, good. But the I appreciate the authority, but the implementation will be important too.
Right, right. We accelerated this because we want the personnel department to start hiring. It's a lot of positions. They're not going to do that overnight, and we wanted them to be underway with that before the beginning of the fiscal year. So that's why we sort of pushed it early. But I'd be happy to give you a report on any of this whenever you need it.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you so much.
All right.
We have a change in the instruction, and we'll probably go back to the first one too, but instead of noting and filing, we're going to continue each one of these items until we've been through the entire cohort, meaning all of the departments that we're asking to come here, and then we will take one vote and move the entire item to the City Council. So, before you call this item, actually, why don't you call this item now, and then we'll think about what we just did with the Port of LA. So I move that we just continue this item, or without objection, we'll continue this item and hold it here on the at this committee until we're ready to move forward on all of the departments. Should we, Mr. Clerk, then go back and do the same for the record on the Port?
You can simply just say we're continuing all of them. There's no need for any kind of vote or anything.
If there's no objection, then we will also continue the Port item and keep it here in this committee until we're ready to move all of the items forward.
Very good. Sounds good.
Great, thanks. So next, we will go from water and power to the public library. John, thank you for being here. If you and I think this is going to be a verbal report.
Yes.
And we'll let you give the verbal report, then we'll move into questions, but you can anticipate what some of those will be.
Sure. Good morning. Thank you. Right now, the Los Angeles Public Library has a vacancy rate of, and of course it changes from sometimes from day to day, but certainly week to week, 8.7%. We have a total of 1,284 positions at the library, and that vacancy rate represents 112 vacant positions currently. Classifications with the most vacancies are our two most populated classifications, librarian, entry level, and administrative clerk. So there are 30 vacancies in the librarian entry level classification, 26 administrative clerk, and then there are currently 11 messenger clerk vacancies, but we're on the cusp of filling about 3/4 of those imminently. 9 library assistants, 5 social workers, which is a newer classification for the department, and 5 senior admin clerks. Those are just the highest. Reasons for those vacancy numbers in those two classifications where we have the largest employee populations, with the librarian classifications, with the, as is true I'm sure in other classifications in the city, there's a domino effect in hiring. When we're hiring division librarians, we're typically hiring from the principals, senior librarians, and so forth. And then we just go through that process. So that's one of the reasons for all of those vacancies in the librarian classification. And we also do a transfer interview process as well before doing promotional, which to give people an opportunity to laterally transfer within the library system. That takes a little bit of time before we do a promotional hiring process. And then with the administrative clerk, which is a classification used in departments throughout the city, in the library we use it in a little bit of a different way. It is our principal public service position. There are administrative clerks in all 73 of our locations. It is a classification also that often has a schedule that includes nights and weekends, which can be challenging for the library in terms of sometimes we lose those employees and vacancies are created when they promote or go to another department. And also within the library, there's a little bit of a narrower career path for administrative clerks as well. And so that's an issue. They often promote to library assistant, or in some cases we have a smaller number of senior administrative clerks within the department. And I will say that we enthusiastically use targeted local hiring. We love targeted local hiring in the department. In fact, not long after that program was established in the city and we heavily used it, we actually worked with the personnel department to create a video that was distributed to other departments talking about the success that we had, highlighting to employees that were successful in that program and to supervisors who thought well of the program. And to date, we're approaching about 100 people that we've hired through that program, and so it's really fantastic. We're a big fan. We recently created or brought aboard in our department a new classification, community service representative, which we're hiring that classification through the Bridge to Jobs program. So also an enthusiastic user of that program as well. And then we also are talking about our vacancy rate and numbers. We believe soon to be filling those 5 social worker positions as well. Currently with 8 positions at the library, 2 filled. Mm-hmm. And that's the summary of where we are with our vacancies.
Great, thank you. Anything to add? Nope.
I'm sorry?
I was asking your colleague.
Oh, yes, and this is Michael Balakowitz, our personnel director. I'm sorry, I should have introduced him at the beginning.
No, that's quite all right. That's quite all right. So, just for the record, give us an overview of your departmental funding. Why are you in this category of proprietary departments?
Yes, back in March of 2011, voters in Los Angeles approved a ballot measure called Measure L, and that measure took the funding formula from the library from 0.0175% of assessed value of property in the city to 0.03%. And in years, and it did so, it set in motion that increase over 4 increments over the next 4 years, and then at the end of that 4-year period, it remained at 0.03%. And the ballot measure was worded in such a way that there is not a requirement to renew that. So as assessed value of property in the city goes up, that 0.03% produces additional revenue for the library. So it is dedicated revenue. We do budget a salary savings rate, but those dollars do not revert to the general fund. They remain library dollars. Mm-hmm. And so each year at the end of the budget year, unspent dollars, whether it's a alterations and improvement project that was budgeted that was unable to be completed for whatever reason, or unspent salary dollars, remain library dollars and are often reappropriated to the similar projects or are used to create the budget for the next fiscal year.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you for that. Tell me again what is your vacancy rate?
Approximately 8.7% at the moment.
8.7. And where do you expect it going over the next several months?
With the hiring processes in place for really all of these positions, we're expecting that number certainly to go down. There obviously is an attrition rate in the library, and we do anticipate retirements and so forth. But I think that the vacancies and the pandemic still has a bit of an effect, a lingering effect, but I would expect that number to come down.
If the number were to come down, let's say you had a very small vacancy rate, and then you would have a very small salary savings. How does that impact the department, given that you're essentially an enterprise fund?
It would not really affect the department. We in years past have used that unreserved, unencumbered fund balance at the end of the year as a large source of, or a substantial piece of the creation of the budget and revenue for the subsequent fiscal year. Mm-hmm. We've not had to do that in recent years. One of the things that we have done, and this goes back probably 8 or 9 years, is we have created a budget stabilization fund at the library. We're very careful about that, recognizing that voters voted in March of 2011 to fund the library in the way that they did, and we're obviously using those dollars to provide really exceptional services, I think, to the people of LA. But being good stewards of those dollars also means preparing ourselves for that moment when those dollars are not going to be coming in the way that they have. where assessed value of property may not grow at the same rate, may not grow in a way that allows us to cover the normal increase in operating expenses each year. And so that fund has been built to just a little under $20 million. So when you look at the overall library budget, it's certainly will mitigate impact, but it's not going to solve all of those problems when you think about what issue we might have at the beginning of a fiscal year in preparing that budget.
Right. And you know, because we've discussed it, one of my issues is just the maintenance of property. So my sense is that salary savings is what could increase funding for things like maintenance. Tell me about sort of your maintenance funding and whether it's impacted by a high or low vacancy rate.
Well, when you look at the library and you look at about 1.4 million square feet of space across the city in 73 libraries, some historic and so forth, we do not have a regular substantial source of capital dollars to fully and majorly renovate a branch library, to build a new library if necessary. And we have all of those facility needs to one degree or another at all 73 of those libraries. Now, there are some that are higher on sort of the list in the back of my head than others in terms of need for major renovation. So what we do each year is we allocate a certain amount of funding in alterations and improvements, and those are the dollars that we use to deal with HVAC, carpet, basic building systems issues, and also some light renovations when we need them. To renovate a small area or to deal with often a surprise issue, an emergency or something that's obviously unexpected. And that in the proposed budget that we've submitted, that total amount of money is around $16 million. Not a small amount of money, but also not a lot of money when you think about the physical plant needs. We are engaged in a facilities planning process. We're in the very early stages of that. It will end with a broad set of recommendations and likely a very big price tag. And then that'll be a conversation with all of our stakeholders about how best to fund that and what steps we would want to take forward.
So you're actively in a facilities evaluation. Does that include?
We have an external consultant on board doing work, working with us, looking at facilities and determining what those needs are and a methodology for where space is needed and how to use the space that we currently have.
Does that, I'm not trying to change the scope of that analysis, but are you looking at uncovered areas in the city where you might need new branches?
Yes.
Great.
Yes, we are.
I have a couple suggestions for you.
Great.
Colleague?
Are they in the 1.5?
They are, indeed. Indeed. Is there anything else besides the 1.5?
Yes. No, thank you for those great questions. I don't have any questions. I just want to continue to uplift the work that y'all do at the library, especially being able to publish books now. I think it's really exciting, but a big fan of the work that you're doing. Thanks.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Again, same instruction. We will take this as a oral report as we get through the entire cohort, and we wrap this up again. We might be asking for an additional report to see where we are as we get closer and closer to budget.
Of course, happy to. Thank you.
So again, we will continue this item and hold it in the committee. And last but not least in this grouping, we have LAWA, the Los Angeles World Airports. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Council Member and Council Committee. Thank you for having us in today. We appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I won't sound too gloomy in my presentation here. LAWA is currently budgeted with 3,659 positions. As of today, 2,998 positions are filled, leaving 661 vacant positions ready to be backfilled, or 18% of our budgeted positions. Our HR team is actively working on backfilling 280 of those positions. So far this fiscal year, we have hired 206 employees and promoted 87 employees, but we have also lost 184 employees. These include promotions or transfers to outside LAWA within the city, retirements, resignations, or discharge for cause. We currently have 102 employees on emergency appointments because a civil service eligible list has not been approved. For each of these, we have submitted exam requests, and we continue to be creative in our direct advertisement of vacancies. The vacancies exist largely because hiring difficulties associated with a highly competitive labor market, as well as the lengthy time to hire associated with the civil service process. Hiring a candidate can take months, while our competitors are able to hire in a few weeks or less. We have budgeted to achieve full staffing in all approved positions, achieve full staffing of all approved positions by the end of the fiscal year, and there is no salary savings goal associated with our unfilled positions. We have paid significantly more in overtime than we budgeted, and that partially offsets the under expenditure on regular salaries. The service impacts vary based on the classification and assignment of the vacancy. As our report indicates, and I understand the report didn't get to all the staffers but we uploaded it yesterday.
Okay, thank you.
As our report indicates, we presently have the greatest number of vacancies in custodian, security officer, airport police officer, senior administrative clerk, management analyst, and gardener caretaker. So you see it's a wide variety of different types of positions. Impacts of these vacancies include service delays, as well as personnel impacts related to enhanced workloads, additional overtime to meet minimum service levels to keep the airport safe, secure, and running efficiently. And that's my report.
Thank you. So do you have, does LAWA have anything like what DWP described, funding for, well, let me back up and ask this question. Does your hiring process go through the personnel department, or do you have your
Yes,
own?
it does.
Do you have anything like LAWA and funding a dedicated unit within personnel to assist with your hiring process?
I don't believe we have it because we don't have the specialty classifications that DWP has.
Right.
We don't have linemen. We don't have, most of our classifications are in common with other city departments, and so we don't have that dedicated unit. We are a very active participant in both Target Local Hire and British Jobs. I know I remember sitting in front of this committee's predecessors back in 2018 talking about how much we love Target Local Hire. Yeah. And so, that work continues.
Okay. So you also, because you have those same classifications, you're participating in TLH and bridges, and it seems like you're about half of the classifications with the largest vacancy rates seem to be very TLH aligned.
Absolutely. For our custodial classes and our administrative classes, yeah, both, sure.
What do you think are besides there's a very large challenge that you have, that you're competing in a market where there's a lot of private participants, and there's probably a greater flexibility on hiring, and maybe even a higher salary rate or hourly rate for some of the work that you're seeking.
And even within the city family, we see that as well, yes.
Explain that.
My colleagues from DWP are no longer here. We lose a lot of our security guards, our IT staff, to DWP because their MOU has a higher compensation rate. And so we've known, I was speaking with our one of our HR staff, and they said basically as soon as we hire a security guard, they go to DWP because they get a higher pay rate. And so it's just that can be kind of, but yes, we also have private sector influence as well, because we'll be trying to hire someone and we'll be trying to go through the process to hire them, and then they can get a job offer in the private sector in like a week, whereas for us it takes months to go through the civil service process.
Do you have any sense with the new contracts coming up, whether or not those will help with retention and recruitment?
I hope so. I don't have any data to back that up, but I would hope that would make us more competitive.
So you said in your presentation that that salary savings won't be a great assist in the department, not because you don't fund all these positions, but because overtime is so high.
I think that eats into it quite a bit, from what I understand. Yes, I don't have statistics to speak to that as I sit here, but I could get those to the committee.
We might want to unpack that a little bit.
Yeah.
When we come back.
Sure.
Colleague?
Yes. Sorry, could you please identify yourself?
I'm sorry.
Sorry for the.
I'm sorry.
For the
Yeah,
folks
Mark
out there.
Adams, Government Affairs Director for LAWA.
Thanks so much, Mark. I was looking at the personnel website. Is there sorry, I'm just asking questions so I could learn more as well. Is there a reason all the positions are not advertised on the personnel department?
I'm sorry?
I've noticed there's like 600 positions that are vacant, but when I look at the personnel website, they're only listing a handful of positions.
Yes, we have our HR group has to go through a process of getting, once a position that becomes vacant, has to go through a process of getting it authorized to fill, and that process takes some time, and with the number of candidates we're trying to hire, it can sometimes take the bandwidth of our HR group to fill all those vacancies is it's daunting to the
600
task.
positions is
Yeah.
a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Is there any are there any relationships similar to what was described with DWP, where there's relationships with the unions that sort of bring in, a pipeline to fill those positions?
Not that I'm aware of, but I will check with that to see. I know we participate in community job fairs and community events to try to enhance our recruitment. But again, that works. We might get a few emergency appointments that way.
Yeah.
But then we have to work on getting people on through the civil service system.
Yeah. I say that for a couple of reasons. Number one, it sounds like the relationship the DWP has fostered with the union over time has been beneficial, but which is good. That's my first point. And then the second thing is I cannot get out of my head the day we approved to outsource the elevator mechanic and the escalator mechanic repair. And I know it's a proprietary, but at the end of the day, it's taxpayers' money, right? And so trying to build out those relationships with different unions, I think is just so important. And we might not get the results that we want today or tomorrow, but over years, I think we have a much more efficient. And not every union has these training programs. Like I'm pretty sure that the custodial classification doesn't have a union that does that, but that stuff can be built out over time, and people want those jobs. So that's why I ask about these relationships.
Understood. And going back to using your example of the elevator contract, I mean, we have vacancies in the elevator technician classification, but we can't fill them because our pay isn't competitive with the outside, and so that's part of the problem.
That's part of the other issue. Yeah, totally. Okay. No other questions. Thanks for coming.
Thank you much.
Thanks very much. Same thing as we're going to just continue this item, but as we get through all the departments, we'll probably have you come on back and see where the progress is. So if there's no objection, we'll just continue this item. Mr. Clerk, is there anything in front of us? Any other business?
That clears the desk.
Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate personnel being here and the controller. We're going to pull together some more cohorts. If you want us to share what those cohorts look like, and we're going to endeavor to get through all of the departments over the next couple of months. Anything else to add? I'll turn to Adam and Anissa. I'm all good? You're not used to hearing your name during a committee meeting? Okay. We're adjourned until the next special meeting. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.